Hello ladies and gentlemen, An Idiot Imports is sponsored by PlayAsia, and this copy of the game you're about to see probably came from them as part of their sponsorship deal, unless I very specifically say it didn't in the video. If you want to support this series, use the link in the description to go to PlayAsia and buy an item or two. It'll help me out and increase the budget I get for import games. You can also use the coupon code BLUEVITA at checkout to save a bit of money, but it won't count towards my sales if you don't use that link. Either way, thanks for your support and enjoy the show. Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima, and I'm here checking out Damascus Gear Saikyo Exodus. I hope I pronounced that right. And this is a sequel to Damascus Gear Operation Tokyo, I think that's what it was called. So, this is rumored to be coming out here. Well, we don't have a date yet, but it is rumored to be coming out here. There's been a rating spotted on the ratings board, and this was one of the games I actually wanted to check out when I was doing my import saga, but then a couple of other things got in the way and it kind of fell behind, but oh well. I'm here checking it out now, so you can get a rough idea of what it's like before we actually get the English version. So, I've got my save game here. No save time as far as I can tell, but I've been timing it. I've been playing for about 2.5 hours, but this game has some ridiculously long... Well, I don't want to even call them cutscenes. They're more like monologues, where it's literally just someone on the screen talking at you. So, it's got a lot of monologues, and I've been skipping through the majority of those because it's been way too much to translate, and due to the way the colors blend on the screen, it's actually kind of hard to. So, if you take that and put it all together, I'm probably closer to 3, maybe even 4 hours at this point. Roughly. I'm not going to say that for sure, but... yeah, if I've been playing mainly for 2.5 hours, and here's an example of one of the monologues right now. You have this lady here who's your partner, who funnily enough you can name, and of course I named her after Best Girl, because who wouldn't? And as I said, this is one of the monologues that tries to teach you about the game. I also believe that this is the main way you get to live with the story. There's also this weird shadow figure that delivers part of the story to you. But other than that, this is the story. And there are a few things that the story makes you do. The first couple of days in-game are mainly meant around teaching you how everything works and all that. I'm sorry if I'm pressing early before the voice lines cut off, but I don't actually have any headphones on right now to hear this, so yeah. There's a fair amount of dialogue, as you can see. Not much of it I have translated. But I think the general idea is that you're in debt, you've got to earn the money back by either going on missions or winning in the arena. That's pretty much the gist of it, I can tell so far. There might be something more interesting going on with the weird shadowy figure who turns up from time to time, but that's basically it. I'm going to skip the rest of this monologue because seriously, this shit can get really long. So right now, it looks like it's only going to let us go on a mission, which is fine. That's basically what I was planning to show off anyway. If we go into the options menu, you can see the sound sliders, and I'm not entirely sure what this is down here. It's a loot selector, loot rarity selector, I should say. And right now I have it set to uncommon or higher. I think it's meant to be items that are automatically kept, but I'm not entirely sure. I haven't been able to figure it out just by playing around with it. And it does translate to... well, it translates to that general concept, at least as far as I can tell. Translating stuff in this game is actually quite hard. But yeah. You've got the report menu, which is literally just a history with an absolute ton of text. You also have a glossary with all your different terms in it, including some tips, but yeah, seriously, look at how much text there is here. I haven't even tried to translate half of this. And of course, you've got gear, which will give you a little bit of an overview of all the different kinds of manufacturers and what sort of robots they make, and you've also got skills. Skills are, I believe, randomly applied to items you find out on the field, and I'm not entirely sure what they all do, but considering how early I am in the game, it isn't really that much of a problem. Funnily enough, you can... wow, how did I not note... oh, it's probably because I can barely see it on the Vita screen. I only just noticed that the panel up the top there above our main menu options actually tells you your stats. Except that's not all of them. So, really, what the hell? So you can go to the shop, which is actually kind of presented like an Amazon clone. And you can come here to do things like pick up different robots. You can also pick up individual parts for said robots. And you can see the effects on your stats there. I'm actually pretty happy with what I've got right now, but there might be something getting in the way of what I'm actually using, which might annoy me to some degree, but we'll see. You can also see that they, if you were paying attention there, you could see that they had little skills down the bottom of the menu. So we can't go to the arena right now, so we might as well go to customize and show you what actually fiddling around with your robot is like. So you've got a few things you can do here. You can change the colors of your robot. It's not as in-depth of a painting system as, like, Gundam Breaker, for example, but really, I don't mind, just because it's meant to be, like, a $20 downloadable game, so I'm not really against it. You can come here to change the name of your machine. I don't see the point of this, so I just call it Izumo, because that's the default name of the mech. If you come up here to the top, this little door here will let you do a performance test. We won't bother with that. Over here, we have a leveling system, which isn't actually shown to you until you come back here. But the general idea is that you input points into all these different stats, and you can also see your stats over on the right there, and we'll get into what those all do shortly. But the general idea is every time you level up, you get a point, and the more points you put into specific stats, the more you will get from those particular things. And it goes in what appears to be a pretty linear order. So I've only put 1 point into this one, and it's gotten me to level 1. I've put 6 points into this one, it's gotten me to level 3. So I imagine it goes like 1, 3, 6, 10, 15, 21, so on and so on. And the general, I think these are all different things, like different kinds of attacks and stuff like that. Not attacks, sorry, different kinds of stats. So this one up here, I believe this one only affects your... No, not your durability, your physical attack. There is one here that will only affect your durability. But you can see over on the right there that you'll get different benefits as you go down. But I really can't translate these very well because they just come up as nonsense names. Like over on the right there, that very first, in the middle, I should say, the very first stat up there is durability. That's pretty easy to translate. But as you go down the list, they start to make absolutely no sense. You'll get ones like speed, and then you'll get just random nonsense words like snowflake or something like that. It's kind of impossible to work with. I imagine there's something along those lines along the lines of explanations of all of that in that huge report menu, but other than that, there's not really that much. Like, I even went and checked the manual, and the manual doesn't help you out with that. So, here's your equipment screen. It's pretty basic. I think this game works in a specific way. So, there are 3 different kinds of equipment manufacturers, and I think if you put the same equipment manufacturers with the same weapons, you'll get a boost to that attack. At least to the attack of those weapons. At least that's what I think is going on here. As I said, the game doesn't really explain it to you unless they go over it in those story cutscenes, which I wasn't able to translate. But I'm actually doing okay right now, but, well, you'll see what's wrong with this build, or this game. I'm not entirely sure what, as we get into it, because it's probably about time we go and hop into an actual mission. The missions are pretty simple. They're procedurally generated death gauntlets. You go into them, and you will... Survey? That's new. You'll go into them, and you have 3 different objectives here, and they're all pretty simple. It's usually get to a certain point and collect a certain amount of either equipment or loot drops. There are these little iron balls you can hit that'll give you, like, resources that you can sell for money to help pay off your bill. So, that's pretty much a general idea. By the looks of it, I might have to either beat 20 enemies with a C and M weapon, or beat 20 C and M enemies. So, we'll just go off right away. And this is just a contract saying that yada yada, you're doing what you're signing up for. And we'll move in. So anyway, away we go. This is Damascus gear. You are controlling the robot in the middle. You have 3 different attacks, which are the weapons on your left hand, your right hand, and on your back. And those 3 different attacks can be any one of a few things. Like right here, I've got a single shot attack, a melee attack, and a big fucking laser on my back. But you can also have, like, burst fire weaponry, submachine guns, giant missiles, stuff like that. It's all pretty basic stuff, right? Nothing particularly out of the ordinary. This is a lot like the original Damascus gear was with its weaponry. So, this is a pretty simple combat system. You have the ability to dodge on the X button, but all the bullets that enemies throw out actually come out really quickly for some reason. Like, I'm not entirely sure why they've made, like, bullets and firing so fast, but by the time you see an enemy fire off a shot, it's usually too late to get out of the way. So, you do kind of have to do a bit of preconceived dodging, or, I don't know the right word. I'm looking for a specific word, but for the life of me, I don't remember it. But yeah, you generally need to be pretty alert to what the enemy's doing in order to dodge effectively, which kind of sucks. I don't think I've got the right weapon on me, because as I said before, that's only doing like 30-40 damage per hit of the giant back weapon laser beam. Meanwhile, my melee attack is doing something along the lines of 120 per hit. So, either that enemy is strong against my gigantic laser beam on my back, or my attack power for that weapon is so low that it's not worth the effort. But as I said before, the different enemies do seem to be affected by different guns in different ways. So, generally it's a good idea to try and take along either A, a sample of all three, or B, you carry along one different type of weapon and focus on that sort of build. At least I think that's how it works. It's kind of hard to tell. Other controls. You do have the ability to lock on with the L button, but the lock on is actually kind of annoying because the distance that you can get away from the enemy is actually really low before it won't actually lock on anymore. And there's also the ability to swap lock on while you are locked on, but for some reason it's up and down on the analog stick, and it doesn't seem to be relatively consistent in what gets locked onto, and I'm not entirely sure what the deal is there. Like, it's not even left or right on the analog stick, it's up and down. Like, in what game would you have up and down be swapping lock on? I really don't know. You do also have the dash button on the R button, and it's actually more effective at dodging attacks than the X button dodge, because it's, as far as I can tell, it's infinite. So you can just run around at the speed of sound as much as you like, and it won't get... It won't run out, it won't have a cooldown period, unlike your weapons, which actually have cooldown periods. It's so strange, I'm really not sure what's up with it. But yeah, the general idea is basically... There doesn't seem to be much in the way of general consistency with the combat. There's no way to consistently dodge attacks, or there doesn't seem to be any way to more effectively attack enemies. There are critical hits, but they're pretty random, so I don't really see the point in getting too in-depth with the combat, because it just doesn't seem like there's much depth there. Now, you might be seeing that I'm actually just, like, completely running through enemies, despite the fact that... Oh, yeah. Other things I should mention. Pressing down lets you get into communique with some people, but it doesn't really seem to do much. You can also swap repair packs with the D-pad and press up to use them, but I have got a massive stockpile of them, so it doesn't really seem to matter. What else is there? I think that's it for the controls. So, there's one thing I do want to talk about. Wow! There's a performance drop for you. Holy shit. Okay. That hasn't actually happened yet. I was going to say that the game performed fine at first, but that's new. But yeah, anyway. So there's one thing that I want to talk about with this game that seems to be the major thorn in its side. And that's the difficulty curve. Now, as I said before, you might have noticed that I'm just outright wiping the floor with pretty much everything I come across, and nothing's doing that much damage to me. I've got like 3,000 health, and even these guys here are doing like 10 damage to me with every hit. And in the previous 5 floors, they weren't doing much to me at all. They were just sitting there and just taking it, more or less. The game's difficulty seems to be a bit out of whack in this case, mainly because, well, sometimes you'll just go down a level and you'll take like no extra damage at all. And you can continue doing that for like 10 to 15 levels, and then the game will spawn a boss monster on you that will take no damage whatsoever, to the point like it'll have like 3,000 health and take like 3 damage a hit, and it'll one-shot you in one level. I'm not entirely sure what the deal is with this, but it is very likely to happen. I'm not entirely sure what the drill is, but it just makes the game surprisingly difficult to enjoy, because it can throw this shit at you randomly and you'll never see it coming. And I'm not entirely sure why they've done it this way. It can seemingly happen anywhere at any time, too. Eventually, you'll run into an enemy that'll just take no damage from your weapons whatsoever, and you'll just have to either grind away at them or just even skip them. Skipping enemies is actually a viable tactic for some groups of enemies that you can't beat very easily, but there are some boss monsters that are required takedowns that you will need to deal with. But thankfully, sometimes just going through and getting a certain amount of enemy kills and getting equipment off them and using them in order to power up before you go back and try again does seem to be a thing, but seriously, the jumps in difficulty can just come out of nowhere. And it's not helped by the fact that the game seems to have this weird fetish for locking you off from certain things during certain days, and I'm not sure why it does this either. But the general idea is that, as you saw back in the menu, we were locked out of going to the arena, and I will show you the arena because they probably will unlock it tomorrow in game time, because any major mission that you do is like 1 day in game time. But yeah, sometimes they'll lock you off from doing missions, and sometimes they'll lock you off from doing the arena. However, when they lock you into doing the arena, you are going to get raped. You are going to get absolutely destroyed by whatever is in the arena. I mean this in its entirety. I am completely and utterly serious. You will get destroyed. You will do no damage to them whatsoever, and you will just absolutely get the floor wiped with you, because their weapons will be extremely fast, and you will just not be able to deal with it at that point in time. This is something that that's happened to me at least twice throughout the game so far. One of them didn't cost me a day, but one of them did. At the end of every big mission like this one, for example, it'll do something along the lines of show you a little bit of a diary log from your partner that will give you an idea of how far you are from getting to your goal, and then it'll flick away like a day counter. At least I think that's what it is. And it gives you this real sense of urgency, because you don't know what's going to happen when that countdown hits 0. I assume it's a game over. Like, I don't know what else you would expect it to be, right? Like, what else would you expect it to be? Other than a game over. So, you just end up in this weird position where the game will decide to waste a day for you just because you don't have the parts you need to not get your ass kicked by someone who is clearly superior to you. And for some reason, this boss is ridiculously easy. And then you've got this, where you'll spend like 10 minutes going through a dungeon, absolutely smashing everything in your path. It just seems to have no idea of what a difficulty curve is. And with the combat being as simple as it is, it means that you just don't end up in the same... You just don't end up enjoying it as much, because with the combat being so simple, it just means that you're basically just running up to dudes and just hammering away at the attack buttons until you literally come up against an enemy that you will never be able to beat. You do get parts, of course. You can see in the bottom left corner there that I've got plenty of parts that I can use to equip to my mech, but it's nowhere near as satisfying as picking them up and, say, Gundam Breaker 3, and getting this big message on screen that you just found a legendary part that will probably be absolutely stockpiled with skills. So here is the way down. Now, and by the way down, I mean the way out of the mission. I'm going to continue on just to see if I can show you what the difficulty spikes are like. because it can seriously get kind of ridiculous. They do kind of let you go out on that one, at least, which is fine by me, but there was one mission I played where I just got absolutely wrecked. So, yeah, it's just kind of frustrating. Yeah, as you can see, enemies take a fair bit more damage now, and I take a little bit more damage as well. They take more damage to defeat, I take more damage to my health meter for every one of these dudes. So yeah, it looks like the difficulty spike here is not unexpected, we'll put it that way. But it's still relatively easy. I still have an absolute ton of healing kits, and I can just smash through. But as you can see, they seemingly take no damage at random from this, and I don't have any reason to stick around here, so I might as well move on and see if I can find a different way out. There are different ways down, but for some reason, they all seem relatively different. Let me try this again. That's not what I meant at all. They seem different depending on, like, you get messages from your partner that are different, that seem to tell you that you're going down into a different kind of room. It'll warn you what kind of room or level that you're going down to. But there doesn't seem to be that much difference between them at all. Like, there might be a level where there are a bunch of rooms, and there's a way with, like, just a huge set of, like, locked lasers. And in order to get to the area behind all the locked lasers, you need to go and just basically just end it. You need to go and end every enemy in every room before it'll unlock all the lasers. But the majority of the levels, at least so far, seem to be this same sort of visual style, where it's just this white or this grey floor, isometric, random straight hallways with rooms filled with dudes to fight. No real variance on the... Oh my god, I'm actually taking tons of damage now. See, just like one level, and it's just wiping the floor with me with my bloody health bar. Well, at least these guys still take a fair amount of damage, so I can try and get through this. Oh yeah, by the way, trying to play with lock-on turned off is pretty much impossible. Mainly because you're kind of locked to, I think, 16 direction aiming. I don't think there's any lock-on for being outside of lock-on to help you aim, and you have to aim with the left stick. So you just end up in this annoying situation where you're just dancing around until you can actually get a lock-on, and then you get out of range and just, it's annoying as hell. Oh, Jesus. Alright, get to the other side of the room, lock on, aim, and just fire the... I'm firing my laser. Come on, lock on. Thank you. Right. What the hell am I doing? I can just do this. Hit multiple enemies at once with a melee attack. Also, yeah, that's a bit weird. The fact that your attack button and the button you use to go down a floor is the same button. So if you walk into the middle of a teleporter, and use your, like, circle attack, it'll prompt you in the middle of a fight if you want to go down a floor. Which, to be fair, might not actually be the worst idea, but still, it's kind of annoying. So, it's relatively boring combat with relatively boring level design, and some weird-ass design decisions. There is, of course, also the arena fights, but as I said, I will show you the arena fights just for the purpose of demonstration, but they're actually lesser quality than this. I find this game to be relatively unsatisfying. I'm not going to claim that this isn't my fault, because there might be a lot that the game's tried to tell me. Like, how some weapons are effective against certain dudes, or how some configurations are better than others. I've mainly been playing this by ear just because of the amount of text I would have to translate otherwise, but seriously, it's kind of ridiculous. There's a couple of other things that are wrong with this game as well. It's just kind of ridiculous how some enemies take so little damage, and there are just these weird-ass difficulty spikes that just come out of literally nowhere. And I'm not entirely sure what the deal is or why. And with the combat being so simple, and there being no effective way to, like, dodge or aim outside of lock-on and all that, there are more problems than just my incompetence might bring up. And I'm willing to give this game another shot if and when it comes out in English. Because, you know, that's only fair, right? But with the game as it is now, I'm not really enjoying it. It just feels like a button masher more than anything else. A button masher with a weird sense of difficulty and not entirely satisfying looting mechanics. Sure, I have an absolute ton of parts that I can work with right now, and I'm probably going to be able to sell them all and get to my next like amount of money I've saved up objective. But yeah, I got to admit, I'm not particularly feeling this one. There's just a few things that just get in the way that just make it hard for me to enjoy. And if I figure out what those things are on the English version, maybe I'll be able to recommend that more than I would this one. But this is just... all these little things are just driving me nuts. Let's go down. Level 15. Hopefully that means I can get a way out soon. Probably not too far from one, but... it is this game we're talking about. You know, I'm just going to head down again. Why not? I mean, sure, there's more, like, loot that I can go and get, but... oh, for God's sake. And let me guess, these guys take, like... oh, no, they take a little bit of damage, but... you know what? Screw it. I'm leaving again. I'm going to try and get out with all the parts I've got. If you die... you only get to take 5 parts out, and since I've got like 9 legendaries and 8 rares, that probably means that I've got a good amount of stuff to work with at this point. 6 damage! Well, at least it looks like I'm taking no damage from them whatsoever, so maybe it's just worth the time to just stand here and spam. Whoa, never mind, I am taking massive amounts of damage. Fuck that. I do find it a bit weird that I can literally just bug out if I want. Like, as soon as you cross just this invisible barrier on the outside of a room, everything just stops. It seems really weird that that's a thing. Like, what looting game have you played that has done that? See, I tried to aim that straight up, but it wouldn't let me. It's funny how I can literally just, like, sit off screen. Like, there have been multiple times in this game where I've literally just sat off screen, fired my giant laser bolt thing, and just absolutely wiped the floor with everything in the room without even seeing it. That's how easy we're talking here. Okay, here's a boss. See the amount of damage I took there? Screw that, I'm out. That... going from, like, taking, like, say, 20 or 30 damage from the bigger dudes... to taking 2,000 or 1,000, I should say, damage from just one shot. That's not a difficulty curve. That's retarded, is what that is. How the hell do I get out of here? Usually they put a how am I doing on my objectives, by the way? Not great, but well, I've got one objective done. That's pretty good, honestly. You do get bonus money for all the objectives you finish. Probably a waste of a beam like that, but oh well. Screw it, I'm going down again. Surely they'll give me one of those purple portals that'll let me exit to the surface soon. They're actually kind of rare, maybe in this dungeon at least. Maybe if I get to, like, level 25, I'm guessing that's where the next one's gonna be. But that is legitimately a guess. As you can see, I'm literally just rushing. Ooh, I can't go that way. Yeah, this guy, yeah. It's weird. You go from one room which has a guy dealing like 1,000 damage to you, then you come to this room where you only take like 20 or so a hit. Just find the portal and leave. Oh, I do actually want to show off the arena combat just so you can see what it's like, and also like the loot system. 24. need to find a way out. That's not a way out. Leave me alone, please. This is also not a way out. There's a way out. Probably could have laser beamed all those dudes and gotten myself some easy loot and shit, but okay, 25. I imagine that there is a portal somewhere on this floor. Whoa! Oh, no, actually, that's not horrible. Could be worse. I remember those missiles doing way more damage than that. But then again, it was a guy that literally managed to one-shot me, so whatever. Alright, let's try and... Ow. These guys drop a lot of parts. That one guy just dropped like 3 parts. Oh, this is actually a way out. Awesome. Yeah, I went from 9 to 13 legendary. Yeah, here we go. 26. I was 1 floor off. Let's go. Let's get out of here. Let's leave this joint, etc., etc. What else is there to talk about? Well, you saw an example of the performance there. It actually runs pretty well, all things considered. Like, you've got plenty of, Oh, I can only take 20 parts back? Really? Okay, I might as well just take every part I can get from Legendary and Rare. I didn't think that was actually a limit. I've never actually been this far down. But, yeah, you've seen what the performance is like. Usually it's okay. Like, it does the job. It was only in that one weird situation where they only, okay, I got 70,000 yen for that. Sorry, I scrolled... Oh, I didn't scroll through that rather fast. It was mainly because, when you press the circle button, it just assumes that you want to go all the way down and just immediately get out of that screen. Which I suppose is alright if it's something that you don't want to read, but, yeah. You get the general idea. You get money for doing things, and yada 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 yada. Okay. See what I mean by long monologues? Right. Oh, it won't actually let me go to the arena. What the fuck? That's not great. Oh, well, that sucks. Let's see. Whoop, that's not what I meant to do. I want to see... No. Yes, back it up. So yeah, I have plenty of parts to sell now, which will probably get me a ton of... Oh god, not kidding. Look at that, 33,000 for a part. But yeah, that's the general idea. The arena combat is actually pretty simple. It's just one-on-one with enemies that also have 3 weapons, and as I said, with the difficulty spikes, it means that you can literally just get your shit handed to you with basically no warning whatsoever. And it really sucks. I mean, to be fair, you do get a warning. You do get, like, a little bit of a stat matchup. And pretty much any time you see that the enemy just outranks you in every stat, it means run the hell away. But yeah, that's basically it. It's just... I don't know if it's me just failing to get the point. But I find this game surprisingly... hard to enjoy personally, and I'm not exactly sure why. I just find it to be... What's the word I'm looking for? I just find it to be a little bit too lightweight and a little bit too easy for my taste, except for when the difficulty spikes. In which case it becomes entirely unfair. Actually, there might be a way for me to show you a one-on-one fight now that I think about it. Right, if we go up here to the practice arena, I think I might be able to set it so that I fight someone who... Yeah, here we go. So, here you can see what a one-on-one fight looks like. Also, I've equipped a bunch of different weapons, so at least you can see what that looks like too. Although, chances are, I'm probably not going to last very long. Also, for some reason, in this, like, arena and this arena alone, they've made it so that lock-on, in one-on-one fights, I mean, they've made it so that the lock-on will actually last longer than, like, maybe one stream length. But yeah, as you can see, I'm absolutely getting creamed. And he is taking, like, basically no damage whatsoever. And you don't have access to health packs, so it's basically just a one-on-one. You win or you lose. Well, you win or you lose. Of course you fucking win or you lose. It's basically, you beat him on 1 health bar, or he beats you on 1 health bar. And generally you know, depending on, like, the first 10 to 15 seconds of the fight, whether or not you're going to win. Yep, down I go. So that was an example of arena fight, so that's pretty much everything I've got to show you on this one. It's okay, the combat is alright, but it's too easy, but then it gets way too hard, way too fast, in some cases but not others, and it drives me mad. There might be a bit to the game's customization, with like different weapons being powered up by different pieces of armor and stuff like that, and I kind of think that's the case based purely on my gameplay, but at the same time, it's just not engaging enough when the difficulty spikes are just going so far up and down that it feels like the loot doesn't matter anyway. When the game comes out in English, or at least if it comes out in English, I will happily give it another shot and see if I'm wrong on this, but if I were to recommend the Japanese version to someone who can't read Japanese, I probably wouldn't. So there you go. This has been Blue Maxima, and I will see you all next time.